Hi, I'm Dae Spiral. I hope when you look back on your life, you only compare yourself to your past self. Because you only go once.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of You Only Go Once. I'm Cheryl Cantafio here with my fantastic co-host Eileen Grimes, and we have our next special guest. Eileen, kick us off.
Thanks, Cheryl. So today we have a special guest that I'm very excited about. We have Dae Spiral here. So Dae is a 34-year-old queer and trans artist and meditator who just so happened to sign up for a 10-day silent meditation retreat the same week the pandemic caused most of the country to shut down. Talk about timing. Dae has a professional background in body piercing and rose to become an expert in his field, only to find himself miserable and sick from stress. He came to find that he was subject to the transference of energy of the people that he was piercing all day and began to develop an interest in the healing arts while looking for ways to feel better himself. Sound is a tool that aids in meditation and deep relaxation, both physically and energetically. After finding great comfort and profound healing with this modality, pairing perfectly with his lifelong love of singing and creating music with the guitar or piano, it became Dae's mission to help others truly heal with intentional presence and sound. Dae, I always add a little bit because I'm just so excited, and we know each other, and I have met you through actually both piercing and sound, and it feels like an incredible gift to be able to shine a light on you and have you be able to share your story with our listeners here today. And I'm just so grateful to have you here with us. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. So, gosh, there's so many pieces.
I know, right?
to your story, right? Which is one incredible. And we were talking before, so we don't do video, but Dae has an amazing shirt on right now.
Happy fall, y'all.
Yep. I'm feeling it. You know what? I went to Huckleberry's today, and I didn't know what I was going to make for dinner, but I just went around and I was like, oh my gosh, I want those colorful carrots and I want some yams. And I just found stuff and made a stew, and my daughter and I were just sitting and eating it, and it was fantastic and just everything that I wanted. So I am very much living in the fall world that we are currently experiencing here. Even though I need to do a lot of leaf pickup soon, but that's okay.
It's definitely soup mode. Soup mode is activated.
Yes. Soup mode
For
is activated.
sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I just found a new recipe for a apple cheddar soup, which also is an onion soup. And I was like, oh, so anyway, bought all the ingredients for that. So that could be either awesome or fondue, depending on how well it comes out. So either way, I'm excited because it's a new soup, because usually I relegate to like chicken noodle or butternut squash, or there's one that has like tortellini and sausage in it, which is super yummy. So
Yum.
That sounds amazing. I think you might have to do a behind the scenes thing.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm watching that recipe.
I'm watching my kitchen just be splattered with the first time I made butternut squash soup, I had to clean it from the ceiling because I didn't realize it was like kerplooping, and it went to the ceiling. It went into our fan. I was like,
oh, Cheryl.
Yeah, it was a mess. But luckily I cleaned it, and it turned out to be really good. It was much more, and I learned, put the cover on, like don't rely on your eyes to do this, because you get distracted easily. So yes, so I live for soup season. So
it's incredible. Well, you have to also can you share that recipe, the butternut squash one, with me? All right, back to Dae.
Yes. Sorry.
So
you're fine.
No, it's totally fine. So obviously, so we met when you were piercing. That was one of the sort of primary modalities of things that you were doing at the time. What got you into body piercing? How did that kind of start for you?
Well, I got into body piercing because I was getting piercings. I was getting piercings from a close friend of mine who had just finished his apprenticeship. And we had actually worked together. We had worked together at Subway. We were working the night shift at Subway together in a college town, which means that the Subway was open till 3 a.m. So from
gosh.
from like midnight to 2, it was kind of dead. And then as the bars started to let out to 2:30, we would just be slammed with like drunk college kids. So we spent a lot of idle time together and developed a friendship. And then he left Subway. And he went on to work at a tattoo and piercing shop and began a piercing apprenticeship. And then after, a while in his apprenticeship, he was piercing people. And I was like, well, I'm going to go get pierced by you because we're friends. And when I would get piercings, I would just ask questions. I was like so curious. And I would be like, what is that for? Why are you doing it like that? What does that tool do? What are you doing now? And he would like explain every step of the way because we were good friends. And I'd say after like maybe 5 or 6 of these, visits where I would get pierced and we would kind of like shoot the shit and he would like explain things to me, then he would be like, do you want to learn how to do this? Because you're asking me a lot of questions and I'm basically teaching you how to do this and I need help around here. So it was kind of like right place, right time. I literally had nothing. I had no plans for my life. I was just bumming around a college town, working in fast food. And so I was like, yes, I would love to learn how to do something, I would love a trade. So it was just kind of serendipitous that I ended up doing it, but it was after several experiences, including a suspension, that really pulled me more into like a spiritual space about it. In the beginning, it was really shallow. It was kind of like surface level. Like, at first I was like, piercings looks like it would be terrible to do. It looks painful. Can I do that? Am I tough enough to do that? I wonder if I can do that. And then it was also about like people who had piercings. They looked really tough, And I was, at that time, I was just in the beginning of my gender journey. So as a trans person, I was just starting to live as male and I was just starting to kind of own my masculinity in a different way and present differently. And it felt like a way to like appear more masculine and appear more tough. I've also never felt tough. So the fact that I could maybe look tough was like kind of a plus for me.
Right.
Like maybe I can like hold my own a little and be protected in the world if I just look tough. So it was kind of like just an act at first. It was like a costume. It was like a performance, it was it was fashion. It was just a fashion statement. But once I had a suspension was when that all changed. And suspensions are kind of intense. I don't know if either of y'all have seen photos of what suspensions are like.
I have. So can you describe what that means or what that
okay.
looks like?
Yeah. Nope, the light bulb went off, but please explain it because that is all right. Go.
And as somebody who's both experienced it and facilitated it, and has, at one point I had never seen it before and saw it for the first time. In that moment when I had never seen it before and saw it for the first time, it totally freaked me out. I was like, it like gave me the like, it was like really, it made me uncomfortable to see. So suspension is when people hang from hooks in their skin, and there's lots of different ways that it's done, but it traditionally is from an indigenous practice called the sun dance. And there are other indigenous practices that involve piercings and body ritual, but the sun dance specifically was about making a wound in your body and pulling against a tree. So it would be like a really tiny, like it would be like a little pinch of skin from like the chest maybe. And it was done with like a really sharp, stick or thorn, a primitive piercing needle, right?
Yeah.
Nature's piercing needle. And the ritual was that it was a coming of age ritual. You would pull, you would have this thorn or whatever tied with a twine, and then that was tied to a tree, and you would pull against the tree until eventually it worked loose. And the indigenous practices, sometimes days, people would be in this ritual and working and working and working until finally it breaks free. But the more modern version of that is much less ritual, much less spiritual. Again, it's kind of shallow, but it's again, a rite of passage in a way, and a way to get the body to a different state, to an altered state, right? When we do these intense piercings, there are large gauge piercings in the body. It can send the body into a state of shock, right? And in that state of shock, you can go between worlds. Fakir Musafar is an important figure in the body modification industry, and he's somebody who is considered the grandfather of the modern piercing movement. And he is really one of the main people who brought suspension into mainstream because of his experiences in South Dakota on native land. His neighbors were native people, and he went to school with native people, and he learned about their rituals. They shared rituals with him and taught him about things, and then he practiced them on his own all by himself in the 50s. So it was really, really strange then, but slowly as it's become more and more popularized, more and more people have been fascinated by it. It's become more of a phenomenon that the mainstream world takes part in. But I feel like it's important to say, with all of that it is a sacred indigenous practice first and foremost, and that's what's inspired, the whole movement from here.
But I appreciate that you share that too, from the just understanding history and sacred traditions too, right? Where things come from. It's really incredibly important just to see how things became as they are, and the meaning behind it as you're experiencing some of these things too. And so I definitely want to hear about your experience with that as well, because obviously it was something big for you as you were going through that.
It was really, really impactful. To that, I would like to say the Sundance comes from the Mandan and Lakota tribes. Okay. Kadavi is called the Dance of Burdens, which comes from Sri Lanka and Southeast Asian traditions. And then there's tons of other indigenous cultures that have piercing traditions. That's really where this modern piercing movement that we see, you just see everybody's got a nose piercing, everybody's got little ear piercings. That came from something so different and so important and sacred. So it's important to me to speak on that. But my suspension experience, I would not intend to suspend the day that I suspended. I went to watch people suspend. I was just a piercer with my piercer friend was like, hey, I have a friend who's doing suspensions at his shop. So we traveled, we drove like an hour and a half to our friend's studio. It was after hours. We had like a couple people who would agree to do suspensions. It was really beautiful. They put like paper over all the windows so nobody could see in. It was just like a private, just us in the space. And, whoever wanted to go up got to pick whatever music was playing when they did the suspension, which was, everybody's different, right? We all had different kind of music that we want to listen to. And then, I'm watching people go up, and my friend comes up to me and he's like, okay, when are you going up? And I was like, well, I didn't plan on going up today. Also, you do have to pay for the supplies. And at that time, I was super broke little kid, not being responsible with money at all. So I was like, I can't go up, I'm not paying for this. And he was like, nah, it's not a big deal. You're my friend. I'll take care of it. It doesn't matter. Let's go up. What do you want to do? And I was like, I was not prepared. Did not prepare myself for this. I was like, nah, come on. What are you thinking? And I was like, well, if I did go up, I would do a lotus position, which, there's all different ways that you can do the hooks on the body. But that one was 2 through the back, 2 through the tops of the thighs, and 2 through like the sides of the legs. So you're kind of like sitting. Out of all of the different body positions I saw, that one seemed the most comfortable to me. I know that sounds really weird because there's like a lot of piercings, but I didn't know. I was trying to like conceptualize, like, what is this going to feel like? How am I going to, what? It's just my skin. So I was like, maybe having more points would be smarter to have it like more evenly distributed. I don't know. Now looking back, I've done multiple point suspensions like that several times, and I've done the 2 in the back. And for anybody listening, 2 in the back is also totally fine to start with. It really is not. I'd say me going for 6 was probably not the best idea at once, but I did that.
Okay.
So I sat for 6 piercings in my body. We put hooks in, connected it to rope that is specially tied. I mean, these are like rock climbers in terms of like the knowledge that you have to have about rigging and the weight bearing ropes and like the special carabiners and all the stuff. So, I had a couple very experienced people walking me through that. It's not just like tie a knot and then you're done. Like it's very important. The knots are very important. So my I had like this team of people that all were working to help me get set up in this thing. And when they started to lift me off the ground, it's funny. It's on YouTube. You can look up Dae's first lotus suspension and you can watch.
I'm definitely gonna be doing that.
Well, I have to go look at that up now. Yes.
But you can see in the video, and I'll tell you when I'm about to come off the ground, when I'm about to be completely on the weight of my own skin, there's a moment where I'm like, I don't think I can do this, and I like tell the practitioner, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, just breathe and relax. And I was like, all right. And I'm just breathing, and then I'm off the ground, and then I'm floating, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm here. All right. It doesn't feel great. I will say it hurts, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But there's a moment like 60 to 75 seconds into the pain where it starts to change. And that is where I started to have an out-of-body experience and have a shift in my consciousness.
Yeah.
If I closed my eyes, I could see bright, blinding light. If I opened my eyes, it was just a normal room, closed my eyes, bright light. So I was like, wow. I remember there being experiences that Fakir had spoken about too, where he would suspend and see the bright light. So as soon as I closed my eyes and saw the bright light, I was like, holy shit, I'm seeing the same bright light, you know?
Yeah.
And the pain was replaced with peace. And this feeling of warmth and comfort and calm and like euphoria. I was a newly out trans person, topless in a room full of strangers. And I was so comfortable and happy and safe. Wonderful. And felt so like held and witnessed by the people that were also witnessing me, you know? And that I remember closing my eyes and I remember feeling like I was like up, like twirling. And then I realized that my friend had just very gently like tapped the rig. So I wasn't like spinning really fast. I was like slowly moving, just like a mobile, you know? And I was like, wow, this feels really cool. And then I remember after about like 20, 30 minutes feeling bad because my friend, one of my other friends was like holding my weight. He's just like holding a rope with all of my weight on it as I'm suspending. And I'm like, somebody's like responsible for me right now, like holding on. And I'm like, okay, I can come down. So I stayed up there for like a good half an hour, but then I
wow.
Was like, that was going to be my question because you said the first 60 to 75 seconds. And I was like, you stayed up that long, and then now you just said 20 to 30 minutes. And I was like,
yeah, it blew my mind too, because I was on the floor like, I don't think I can do this, you know? And then just every breath kept, I guess I can take another breath. I guess I can take another breath, you know? And we had the Cure playing, which was awesome. I just kind of like dissolved into the Cure.
Sure. Wonderful. Good choice.
I mean, what a profound, what you just said though, too, right? Is that just, I can take one more breath.
Yes.
I can take one more breath. Like that's, I know, I mean, it sounds so simple and yet it's so incredible in so much of life to just think I can take one more breath.
Yes, man, it was a powerful, powerful experience. And I've done it 5 other times since then.
Wow. I mean,
what are the other types of now you've got me attention because I'm like, wait, what?
I know I'm Cheryl. So okay, listen, hold on, listeners, you can't see this, but Cheryl went on this very emotional journey with her face. The whole
listen,
you saw it. You were here.
No, all right. Amazing. So wait a minute. First of all, it took me a minute to like catch up because when you said, "Oh, the first time I was suspended," because you were talking about college life and stuff like that. I was like, what did you get suspended from? And then my brain caught up and I was like, oh, we don't mean that. We mean the up in the air with your skin tethered and okay. So I caught up and then for whatever reason, like in my brain, suspension is just that thing where and I knew what you meant, like in terms of having hooks in your skin. The only thing I ever knew about was that like people actually do it like down their spine and they hang that way.
Yeah. So like if you know, there are
which to me is
suspension positions.
Yes.
I mean, you can Google suspension positions and you'll see there are a lot. Some of them are look more comfortable than others. Some of them the one that really I saw intense. Did not look comfortable at all. But people were like, "Oh, that was great, thanks." And I was like, "Good luck." So the Lotus one seems tame compared to what I've seen. So I would love for you to share like the other. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like whatever else you've done, because that's fascinating.
Yeah. I mostly have done variations on the Lotus and then the 2 in the back. There are all sorts of names for them. Some of the names aren't great. So I'll just call that one the 2 in the back. But but yeah, the Lotus, I've done a modified Lotus that was just the tops of my thighs and my back. So it was only 4. And actually my first one was the only one that I've done inside. The rest have all been outside. And
wow.
That is, you know, I don't know. I'm of a camp of professional piercers, right? Where our concept of professional piercing includes a sterile environment, right? An environment where you can be in control of how clean things are. So there's kind of a gray area when we start to talk about practitioners being outside of the studio space. But when we're in suspension land, it's kind of like, I mean, this is funny because piercers and tattooers are already kind of like the pirates of society. But then when you get into like suspension practitioners, they're like the pirates of the piercers.
Sure.
So it's like, they're like, they're like really, really, really focused on some things, and other things are like, it's wild,
Yeah.
So suspending outside, I much prefer, and just being able to, at least when it's warmer, really cold, it's not the best, but being able, but that's its own medicine, right? Being able to be in touch with the elements. My second suspension I did, we had a really cool setup. We had this like zip line rig. I told you we had like weird rock climbing people, right? So we have like rope nerds and like big nerds and people who like know the like physics of this stuff. So we had, it was a camping trip. So it was like a bunch of piercers. We went on a camping trip. And we did suspensions while we were there. And one of the practitioners had this zip line mechanism. So they, had 2 points on 2 trees, right? A point on either tree, and the trees were going over this really beautiful stream. So they set it up so that the zip line is on, there's like a pulley on those. And then I'm doing my hooks are then attached to a rig that's attached to the pulley. So then I can zip line and be like hanging over the water and like put my feet in the water and like be touching and floating over the water while I was suspended. So that was really beautiful. It's like I was having different sensations with the sensation of this like calm molasses that just like covers my whole body, as well as like the cool breeze and like sunshine on me and like my toes dipping in the water, and there's like a tree, I can like touch the leaves of a tree, so that was after I experienced an outdoor suspension, I was like, I think I just want to do it this way because it's so beautiful, and my friends were there, everybody's quiet, I just hear birds, it's just like it's just really really beautiful way to have ritual in a group, bloodletting, all of these layers, and an altered state of consciousness, a change.
Yeah.
Not to mention the scars, right? I do have I get scars afterwards. They fade, but the more you get suspended, the more scars you have in like this area, and be like, wow, like when I get massaged, I think, does my massage therapist wonder what all these scars on my back are?
Right.
She never asks me.
Right.
I mean, that would be a tough one to be like, what would I say to somebody?
Right.
Have you ever seen a suspension? Right. We have to go into the whole thing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I would be fascinated to see one in person. If that's ever something. So you just, also very fine if it's a very intimate experience that is meant to be with friends only. And I very much understand and respect that also. So I would never want to go into something like that as being just a, I don't know, weird observer of,
like
there's,
right.
I think that with suspension, it's understood that there's probably going to be people who want to watch, I mean, it's, in certain settings, right? I mean, I think that there are some people who are like, I want a private suspension. I just want my practitioner there, or like, my special people there. But I think majority of people are like, I'm aware that this looks weird. Yeah. Okay. You want to watch? Yeah. Come check it out.
I'd have to control my face.
Yeah.
I would have to control my face because I'm
okay.
Whoa. Yeah. That would be, I'd have to wear a mask or something just because I wouldn't want to be like, I wouldn't want to change people's minds and go like, oh my God, how bad does this look? And oh my God, now I'm in pain because now I'm realizing because her face. So I would be super curious. Eileen, I'm in the camp. I'll ask anything. Like, I'll be like, what is that thing? How do you do that? Blah, 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 blah,
totally.
blah. Would I actually do it? No. But I applaud people that do it because there is that piece of mind, right? It's a different way of meditation and getting in touch with spirituality and stuff like that.
Right.
And I know myself well enough that I would see one needle and I would be like, have a good day. I'm gonna go. I'm Gonna go somewhere else. That's good. Okay.
Very fair. Very fair.
Good for you. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea of the transcendence too, into it being a spiritual healing, right? Like that, I think
For sure.
to me, that's the amazing part of it, that I would like to be witness to that experience of someone else.
Yeah.
Right. Having that in that moment, I feel like that would be so beautiful to see, you know? So that's that for me, like that's yes, there's definitely the mechanics of all of it for sure, and understanding and seeing that, but also when you add into it this whole other part that you can't necessarily, I don't necessarily see this, but I know this person is going through something bigger than what's existing in this room. I feel like that's amazing.
There's this point in suspending where, like I spoke to, where you have to let go, where you have to just, you have to let go. You have to release. You have to just trust the people took care of me. I got things where they're supposed to be. Everything is like tied right. My skin can hold me. That's the most amazing part, is that your skin can hold you. Your skin is so strong. Like our bodies are so strong.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Like the fact that the Sundance people would have to pull on their skin for days sometimes. Like that's amazing. That's just so wild to me. And so I think there's this part about like trusting my body, trusting that my body is going to get me through this. That is a really big piece of like the reason I keep doing it, you know, the exercise. It's like, why would I mean, it does hurt, you know, like the before and after the euphoria, that fucking still hurts, you know, it's awful. Can I cuss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. I was like, oh shit, I dropped an F-bomb. Okay.
No, it's
you're totally
fine. So, you know, there is still pain involved, but the payoff of the change and the way that it changes me afterwards, I think that's why I keep going back and doing it. You know, it's that that practice in letting go, in relinquishing control, and just trusting my skin for 20 minutes or whatever.
I mean, it's incredible. I don't know, there, you know, as I'm exploring what that means. I mean, I have been through my whole life and just spirituality and whatever that looks like for you. You know, there is the, like, what is it? The physical self? What is the conscious self? What are all of these pieces? And that brings every single part of it into that just knowing and into the forefront, right? Where you have the feeling of the physical, but you also experience this piece. And it's just like it's a highly multi-dimensional experience of all of that all at the same time. And I just find that fascinating and amazing.
Yeah. Agreed. You know, we have so many bodies. We have a physical body, we have an emotional body, we have a spiritual body, we have a pain body, right? We have all of these bodies. I don't even know how many bodies we have. We have a bunch. So the fact that sometimes we can link parts of our bodies or like get into different parts through other parts, it's fascinating dance.
It absolutely is. So, because I want to get into this too, you know, going from, you know, having that kind of experience and really starting to lead you into sort of that spiritual side and exploration. How did that take you from where you were then into sound healing?
Yeah. Well, I had an additional experience in terms of like body ritual, and I actually got to experience ritual with Fakir. Fakir passed away in 2018, but before he did, he was still doing rituals all the time and piercings all the time. He has a piercing school in San Francisco that is still run in his honor, you know, after he's passed. And so that was 2016. I did a ritual with him and his partner, Cleo, and they run these rituals, and she's still running them even after he's passed on. And they're called spirit and flesh rituals. And you sign up, and he, you know, at that time, he had this really beautiful space in downtown San Francisco. It was just beautiful, so cool. Just this huge altar space and this beautiful like sacred space set up, and you would go in and you would sit, and once you had signed up for the ritual and gotten all the like paperwork and consent form and doing all the like la la la, and then you go in and he has all these sarongs set out. You have to like change and like get in your sarong, and like there's a trance drummer starting to drum, and then there are people calling in the 4 directions, and now we're in a ritual, like we're having a ritual,
Yeah. Sure.
And that was the first time that I got to experience group ritual in this like really organized fashion, where it felt like, it really did feel like a choreographed dance. Like everyone had a role or a responsibility, was either there to participate in the ritual or was there to support the people participating in the ritual. I recognized some of the guides and leaders as being piercers in the industry, but they were there to help facilitate this ritual. So that was kind of cool. It's like, oh, I know something else. And, for me and my partner, we both participated. We were on the cusp of moving from Georgia to Washington. So it was kind of we had this ritual as well, here's the beginning of this new chapter, of our new lives together as working in Washington and Seattle at that time. And in that, I also experienced altered states of consciousness and got to play in these altered states of consciousness, which was really fun.
I bet.
Yeah.
To just be literally just dancing, like having somebody drumming. And then we did do, if you wanted to do piercings, you could do piercings, but you could also just participate in this ritual. I did little baby, like 14 gauge needles right here. And they had like little tiny hooks with like little strings, and just for pulling, not for like hanging your body weight on.
Right. Yeah.
And my partner did as well. And then I took a vow of silence through cheek spears, which is a practice where you pierce here and here, and it's the spear that goes through, and then there's like these really ornamental ends. And you wear that as a vow of silence, as a mark that I'm not going to speak at all during this ritual.
Wow.
I remember feeling like seeing the cheek spears and just immediately seeing them previously, right? And being like, I have to do that. And I didn't know why. It wasn't like, I want to have my cheeks pierced, It's like, as a piercer, I know that is a very painful piercing. It's a terrible piercing to heal. It's very, very difficult to heal. So many complications can happen. So I was like, it wasn't that I wanted to get my cheeks pierced. It was that something was pulling me to do that. I didn't understand that it was a vow of silence. I just knew that I was going to do that. And so, at this ritual, we're like, signing up for what we're doing. And I was like, I'm doing this. And Fakir is like, just so you know, that's a vow of silence. So that means the whole ritual, you're not allowed to say anything. Like, all right, guess that's my medicine for this ritual too. Yeah. So I did that. And in the ritual space, there are several piercers that Fakir has designated for different things. Some people were doing the chest hooks, some people were doing hooks in their back instead, and then Fakir was the one doing the cheek piercings. And so I got to get pierced by Fakir. Wow. And the way that he did it was, I still don't, I was in a trance state, of course, right? We had the drums going, so that makes sense, but I didn't feel it. It didn't hurt at all. It felt like nothing. I felt it, but there wasn't pain. Yeah. It was really, really blew my mind. And I'm still like, well, I guess it was the trance state I was in, or just freaking magic piercings. I don't know. Sure. But he grabbed my head like on either side of my temples and looked me dead in the eyes. And then he grabbed my cheek and did the piercings. And then he did this cute little like just like little palm tap right on like where my third eye is. And just like boop. And like, he like sent me off. He would like do that and like send you off. Okay, now you go dance, you go twirl around and have fun in the ritual space.
Wow.
And so I did. I had never been in a space where I was told to dance. Go dance. It was like just like without people like wanting me to be sexy or like, trying to flirt with people or like being in a club, like just go dance, like dance with your energy, like dance with your wounds, dance with your pain, dance with the ritual, dance. And so I did. Shook my body about, and moved in rhythm until I realized that I didn't give a shit. I wasn't caring about what I looked like. I was just in this soup with everyone. We were all just dancing. We're all in our like orange wraps. And this like palpable energy in the air of ritual, of humans exploring, witnessing bleeding, having joy and pain, and this symphony of this is life. This is what we do. This is being human. And it just being such a powerful experience. And then at the end, closing the circle and then having a feast. They had a beautiful meal for all of us. We sat at this long table, just one really long table with all of us.
I love that.
And shared a meal and shared space and energy. And that sparked something in me, especially the fact that music was involved, that there was this drumming element happening in the background the whole time that definitely affected my state, that definitely influenced me. Fast forward to the meditation retreat that I went on in 2020, and that is 10 days of silence.
Wow. I mean, I'll be honest, so right now that sounds glorious a little bit to me. As a mom, a single mom, with with my 2 kids, a full-time, mom to them, love them dearly. And also
quiet would be nice.
Quiet. Yeah. And I'm such an introvert too, that I'm like, I need that also to just feed myself and things. I'll be honest, 10 days I'm sure 10 days is actually can be difficult. And there's certainly a journey that you have to go on as that progresses and over that 10-day period. I am not going to claim 10 days, that sounds easy. Obviously super easy to do. But yeah, that must've been such an incredible experience for you. Where was it? Did you go somewhere for it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's the center that I went to is here in Washington. It's in Onalaska, Washington. The method of meditation that I learned is called Vipassana, and the Vipassana technique is the technique that the Buddha used to reach enlightenment. So it's just one meditation technique that we're taught. You're taught like a lead up, like a practice version of it in the first 3 days. And then at the 4th day, you start like actually learning the rest of the technique. And you take a vow of noble silence, which is that you don't speak, but you also promise to not try to communicate to anybody at all. So you don't try to like make eye contact with people and be like, or like eat your food and be like, this food is good or this food is bad, like nothing.
Sure.
Don't, try not to make eye contact with people. Noble silence. So it's like this promise that you make where they're trying to create an environment that you were alone, like you're totally alone. But obviously, it's not really feasible for just you to be at the center. So
right.
There are a bunch of other people here, but we're trying to create an environment that you are in solitude.
So you couldn't play music, you couldn't do any nothing. Could you read books? Like anything, just sit in silence.
To agree to join, you promise that you won't bring anything. So you hand over your phone and your car keys, and they lock them in like this special secure area. You can leave if you want, but they do that so that it's tricky.
Sure.
You say you want to do this, we're going to help you do this. You really want to do this?
Yes.
Okay. If you really want to leave, they'll give you your keys and you can leave. But they really try to not. They're like, are you sure? You're already here. You did all this work. You signed up.
Right.
So I handed over my keys and my wallet and my, phone. Don't bring any books. You don't bring any journals. You don't bring any talisman, crystals, special things, anything, which was hard for me because I love crystals.
That's a true journey.
About my crystals. I left them in the car. I was like, they're coming with me in the car. They'll stay in the parking lot.
They has amazing crystals, just for anyone to know. Yes, it's very true.
I'm a crystal cuddler.
Yeah.
The hand everything over. And the first day, I remember feeling like, can I still talk? Am I supposed to be silent now? But you can still talk the very first day. You're like, getting your stuff. They bring you to your room, and it's really, really lovely. So the little, nerdy background stuff. The center is only run by donation. It's totally free.
Wow.
It costs nothing to do. It's only run by donation, and you can only donate if you've done a course already. So it's only what they call old students. If you've done the course, then you're considered an old student. So only old students donate. So it's only run by people who have benefited from this meditation practice. So it's a really cool system that's set up, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Really like community based, and so the resource for that is dhamma.org if you're ever interested in learning about this.
Okay.
I am.
Yes.
It's very cool. It's delicious vegan food. So delicious. Oh, so good. Me and my partner make this joke. My partner went on this meditation retreat, has been on it twice. And when I met him, he had just finished one, and he was like such a Zen person. I was like, what is it about this person? And he was like, well, I just did 10 days of silence. I did this meditation retreat. And I was like, what? That is so cool. It was like when we first met, like we weren't even dating yet. I was just like getting to know him. And I remember even back then thinking, like 9 years ago, I was like, I want to try to do that someday. That sounds really hard, but it also sounds really cool. I want to try and do that someday. So I, made this plan in November of 2019 because you have to apply like a couple months in advance, and they fill up sort of fast. So you have to kind of like, okay, when is the next one to apply? You have to like save the date, and I like set all these reminders and like planned it, signed up for it. And then, I went there, and while I was there, the whole world shut down.
Yeah. Holy cow. Talk about timing.
It was so, it was really interesting timing, right? Because this technique is teaching you how everything is, the only constant is change.
Yeah.
Everything is always changing.
Absolutely.
I can't even imagine coming out of 10 days of silence and then walking into
no toilet paper.
No toilet paper. It's
Just
like
Totally.
there's like a movie there's a movie called Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
And so like you're in this state of like, whatever, I did this thing, and you do the same thing every day, right? So you've come out of this quiet space, and literally like everybody's in this chaotic space, but you're still in this Zen mode, and like all of a sudden it's like, oh, did something bad happen? Like, what's happening? What's going on? I can't even. That must have been.
It was so wild. It was so wacky. The day before the end. Okay, so you do 10 days of silence. So on the 9th day, you break silence so that you can reintegrate with the world on the 10th day.
Sure.
Because, well, I guess it's technically you do 10 days of silence, but then on the 11th day. So the last day, whatever. The last day, you are able to speak again. And I'm very glad for that one, because after speaking again, I realized that I could feel my voice in my whole body. Like,
yeah, sure.
I could feel my voice, and I can still feel my voice, like even in my toes, if I really, really focus on it while I'm speaking. I can feel it vibrating everywhere. But when I first spoke, I was like, whoa, whoa. Like, made my body feel weird because I really didn't talk the whole time. There are these little gaps in the day where you can meet with a teacher and ask questions about the technique. So you don't have to just sit in silence for the 10 days. If you're like, I am confused, I don't understand something, you can, there are these like little breaks, but I didn't do any of those. There was one night where the moon was full, and I went, whoa, mama. I didn't mean to, but the moon was just so full, and it was in the middle of nowhere. The sky was just so beautiful, and I just could not. And I was like, whoa, I just talked. I need to not talk. But so I did break silence one time at the moon, but I didn't speak to anybody but the moon. But yeah, so I got a little off track. I was trying to remember. Oh, breaking silence. So the day before breaking silence, the kind of like director of the property, I guess, he was the guy, the main hippie, the main meditator, was like, so tomorrow is the day that everybody, goes back into the world, and it's important to just really cherish the time that you have right now and the time that you've had here, because things are going to be really different when you go out into the world tomorrow. And it's important that we continue the boundary or agreement that we've made for this time. So we're not going to discuss what's happening, but you will find out tomorrow. Everyone will get their phones back. You'll all be able to plug back into the world, but just know that this is a time that is really, really important to practice what you've learned here in these past 10 days. Like, this technique is really going to help you in what's what you're about to walk into. I was like, what is happening? I was really worried. I was really scared. I was like, was there like a war? Is there like a bomb? Like, what?
Right.
Is my partner still there? I was like freaking out.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that, because I knew that COVID was starting to, happen, right? I mean, we had heard things, but
Sure.
it was literally like the second week of March. Like, it was the week that everything shut down in Washington.
Oh my gosh, Dae.
So yeah, I turned my phone on and had a bunch of texts from my partner saying that, things are really crazy right now, and to try and find toilet paper on the way home.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
And I did. I stopped in some like middle of nowhere grocery store, and there was no toilet paper, but there were baby wipes. So I grabbed as many baby wipes as I could.
Oh my God.
Okay.
And came home. And
Hey, that's a book. That is a book.
Totally.
I mean, yeah, that is just, how do you go from silence to chaos in 60 seconds, That is, or in 10 days even. Yeah,
it's been quite a lesson. And I mean, I feel like I'm still learning the lesson. Still applying things that I learned there. But yeah, that experience was powerful because of of the surroundings, because I was in I was such a clean slate, it was like there wasn't, when you stop talking, you have a lot of mind chatter, but then the mind chatter turns into something else. It turns into memories. It turns into past mind chatter. And then I'm not even sure what's happening. I don't know what layer I tapped into by the end there, but I know 100% that I saw past lives of mine. I know 100% that I had visions of lives that weren't this life, but they weren't. They were me, but they weren't me. And I think that was the weirdest thing.
I bet.
Sure.
So I was like the most sober I've ever been, and the most like vegan I've ever been,
Sure.
like a very clean body.
Clean.
And yeah, and it was, I always thought, okay, all right. So if past lives are a thing, if it's really a thing that our spirits are everlasting and come back in different forms, if that's really a thing, I didn't think that I would see. I didn't think that I would experience what I experienced, because what I experienced were like little blips of the end. Like, I experienced the end of one of my lives, and I experienced the end that I forced onto another life. And like, really, I'm going to see these? Like, these are the visions that I have, It's like,
interesting.
So yeah, those moments really stand out as this like telescope through dimensions, along the lines of what we're talking about here, of these in-between worlds, that we can sometimes touch or grasp or see like just like a pane of, like looking through a window. I don't know. That's why fascinates me.
I mean, I'm gonna need to go. I need to go now, because that's actually why for the longest time, and I just don't do it anymore because I just don't. But I loved long distance running, so I was doing like marathon training. You sure don't talk to anybody. Well, I mean, I guess some people do. I was not one of those runners that can go for days. But I would had to do like a 3-hour run or something like that, and you're quiet. Like, it's just quiet. And I didn't run with like music or anything. I liked to just be. And the first part of my run, the first few miles were always like the chatter. I'm like, my brain's going through all this stuff. And sure, I mean, God, anyone who knows me, there's a lot of stuff happening all the time. And then it's like I ran past that until it finally got quiet. And that was incredible. I mean, just to sit in the quiet and be entirely present, that for me, running was meditation. Like it
Yes.
just is. It was the moment to allow for those things to quiet and then to get to a place where I saw the trees and I saw, like, I could smell the air. I could, like, everything became so much more clear when I would be doing that. So I can see absolutely the benefit of that. And even over an extended period of time too, how that could then increase what that experience looks like, and deepen it even further. So I'm very interested, and I have the website up now.
Yay.
Yeah.
The thing about the teacher that teaches the Vipassana technique is that he's already passed on, but he made tapes on how to teach, and they still play the tapes. So it's the same teacher teaching it the same way. The assistant teachers are just there if you have questions, but they give you the same answers that he gives you.
Wow.
And his name is Goenkaji, and Goenkaji is also known as the singing meditation teacher. And okay, so it's like you get up at like 4 a.m. There's like a bell, and you get up, and then you start meditating at like 4:30 in the morning. You either do it in your room or you go to the hall. And in the main meditation hall, they play these tapes of him singing in Pali, which is the same language that the Buddha spoke. It was the same language that this technique was written in. And it's like kind of gluttural, and he's like an older dude, so it's like really low, and like the first time I heard it, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is supposed to be the meditation music? This is what we have to meditate to? I was like, great, this is like a cacophony. I was such a brat about it. I was like, this sounds like shit, I don't like this. And then after a couple of days, I continued to go to the hall because my roommate would just sleep, and he was snoring really loud. And so I was like, it's hard to meditate while this dude's snoring. So I was like, I'll just go to the hall. And then after a couple of days of doing it, of meditating with the singing happening in the hall, I realized I was not annoyed by it at all. And I found it actually really peaceful. It was like a lullaby. It was just like so comforting. And I was like, I don't understand the words he's saying at all, but the way that the vibrations are hitting me is like doing something to me.
Yeah. It sounds like the same way the trance drums hit you. Yeah.
Very similar. Yes. It's that same, it's like this frequency resonating, creating this sound wave of vibration in me. Entrainment, really. I mean, that's the physics behind it is entrainment. But once I got back, I hyper-fixated on the technique and like learning and looked up what he was saying. I found a translation in the on the website. I can like look up the different mornings, and I found the different morning meditation songs. I found
wonderful.
I found the translation. I was like, what is he saying? He was calling in the directions. He's calling in the spirits. He's calling in the protection of the land. He was casting a circle. He's casting a spell the whole time. He's like doing energy work, making vibrations in the air so that the space around the meditators would be beneficial for meditating. Like, and something clicked with me with all of like realizing all of that. And it was like music. It's something about music. There's something about me and music, and I'm supposed to do something with music. And it's not to like, I'm supposed to be famous for singing, or I'm supposed to play something perfectly. It's about guiding people through sound. That's what I'm supposed to do. And the more that I came upon that answer, the less I could deny it. And the more I had to be like, I have to step into this. I have to continue to move towards this, and started to find ways to incorporate it into, the piercings I was doing, and started to just take classes and hang the certificate on my wall in the piercing room so that people would ask me, what's sound healing about? What is this?
That's what I did.
And people started to ask, and I was like, cool, it's working. And then we got to connect and do some work together. And now I'm on my own. I quit piercing full time, and I'm doing my own thing.
Wonderful. Good for you.
Thank you.
Which I know for your own healing and for all of that, for you, that's incredible. I also felt like it was such a gift to be able to work with you in that piercing space. And I'm truly, honestly, there's a part of me that's like, oh, okay, well, now if I want a new piercing, I'll have to find someone else. But I feel like it was a gift to be able to have had that experience with you. It really was incredible, as well as, you know, the sound healing that we did. And I still, like, I don't want to give it all away, but there's was something that you were helping me guide through, and I still have my like circle of past and present selves that I still use, and it's still a piece of me, and it's so healing and just what I need often, that I bring that back a lot. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. You know, the things that happen when I'm doing sound healing are not always from me. And that is such it just blows my mind that I like get connected and then stuff comes through me, and I'm like, well, that was supposed to come out. Cool.
Yeah.
And so it's just so touching to me when I hear that you know, was beneficial to you, and that it's been, you know, powerful for you. Thank you for telling me. That's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do now with this? So obviously you're not, you know, you've quit piercing. I know you had a really nice, and also just such a lovely transition from that too, as you were making sure that those you were still working with, there was a transition from that. And I follow Dae, so just like all the time, I see where even going from the different social medias, I'm like, okay, well, now Dae's over here, so I'm just gonna be watching everything here.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah. But anyway, that was just beautiful in the way that you did that in such a like kind, thoughtful, healing, intentional way. And now into this. So what are you now doing full time? And what does that look like?
Yeah. So I'm a full-time sound practitioner now. I'm working with people in a couple different capacities. So I do one-on-one work, you know, if you want to do a session one-on-one. And I can do work with lots of modalities too. I have, you know, the crystal singing bowls. I have tuning forks. Those tend to be my two go-tos to working with like rebalancing our energy centers, or if people have like a specific issue that they're working with. A lot of the times energy work and sound healing will help people with things that Western medicine goes, well, I don't know what to do, you know? Sure, so a lot of times people have an issue and they're like, nothing else will help this thing. Can we try this? And I'm like, yeah, we totally can. The other things that I'm doing I do have a couple of free offerings that I'm doing on social media just to, you know, try to get the word out and to try and gain followers and, you know, serve the algorithm gods.
I know, right?
Terrible.
Totally hear it.
I know, right? But also making customized tracks for people for different situations. So like right now I've been hired to make a track for someone who's having surgery, and they're actually going to be partially awake during the surgery. They're just doing like a nerve block. So something to help them stay grounded and focused and like connected to their body while that's happening. And they're going to listen to it like before, during, and after. And so I'm going to imbue this, you know, I'm imbuing this track with frequencies, with vibrations for healing and intentions, as well as literally putting like words in so that you know she has words to listen to while that's happening. So those are, you know, the offerings that I'm doing in the world right now. I also I've just finished an intensive mentorship with a member of the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra. So I'm
wonderful,
incorporating a lot of things that I've learned in that, and kind of, you know, redoing some things behind the scenes. And I'm gonna, you know, pull the curtain out and, you know, announce and sort of put new stuff out into the world. I'd say by the new year is kind of what I'm planning.
Okay. Well, so I'll be watching. So
yeah. So how, on that point, how do people connect with you on social media? Like, where are you?
Yeah. So you can find my sound healing work at Spiral Sound Healing on Instagram. On TikTok, it's spiral.sound.healing. And then spiralsoundhealing.com is my website. And then if you wanted to see any of my body piercing stuff, I still have stuff on Dae Piercing on my Instagram page. So yeah, if you have piercing questions, I am still doing professional consulting in the piercing world. So I'm consulting with piercers who have questions, or people who are concerned, you know, interested in apprenticeships and that kind of thing. So, you know, I also do consulting for folks. But yeah, I wear a couple hats. But Spiral Sound Healing is where you can find me most of the time now.
Yeah, I just having been through a session with you, I'm looking to expand that a little bit. And I also, so again, Cheryl knows this about me. As soon as you start talking about the things in your business, I'm like, you should go talk to like a midwives group.
Yes.
Because I
That's a great
feel like
idea.
there would
That's a great idea.
right, like, because how many women go through, I mean, this experience of birth and everything, and to have that sort of additional healing piece through it, right? Like, I just feel like that would be incredible.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, I had a conversation today with my one of my parents, and just even from, from that, there is life and death. And I know there are death doulas and things along those lines, and even the transition of some of that too, like, I like, these are moments that an incredibly beautiful and powerful modality to bring into that. Yeah, I just feel like that would be incredible. So as soon as you talk about surgery, I'm like, okay, here's like 10 million more ideas for you.
I love that. Thank you. I've actually been thinking about trying to do work with kids too, because kids are like so down to make sounds, and I feel like there's a point where we lose that, and if we can keep that and cultivate that, then we'll have different humans if we're like not scared to let our sounds come out,
Yeah.
Right.
So that's just also something I've been thinking about. But yeah,
I reached out to you a little while ago, and I was like, we need to talk more, because one, I also am, I'm a pastor. I have my whatever license or whatever that's called.
I've been thinking about getting ordained too.
Yes, that's what, thank you. There's the word. I'm ordained also.
Yeah.
But I have a few things that I'd like to really start building up here in Spokane. And so I definitely want to talk to you more about some of that, and in healing, and what does it mean to be a creator? So would love to. I think I feel like I'm supposed to be talking to you about some of this stuff. So anyway, yes, I'm very excited to hear what's upcoming, and we'll just have to, what's happening, we'll have to wait until the new year to hear about that. And that's very okay. But yeah, I'm continually inspired by you and everything that you're doing and bringing into this world. And, like we talk about, you only go once, and you are bringing light into this world that needs it so
desperately.
So much. Yeah. And to have this healing impact for others and even yourself. And there's nothing selfish about that in any way, shape, or form. Right. And you, to be able to do that as well as you need to for others, you have to be able to give that to yourself. And I'm so grateful to know you, to have fallen into your sphere of existence and knowing. And I just can't wait to keep seeing all the amazing things you're going to be doing.
Oh, this has been so lovely. I'm so thankful that I've gotten to spend this time with y'all. This has been really nice. And it's been so nice to connect with you again. It's been way too long since we've seen each other last. So yeah, we should definitely chat more often. I would love to connect with you more regularly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dae, I think we need to bring you back in 2024 because we need to hear the rest of where everything is going.
Yes,
because
I would love to.
Thoroughly enjoyed your journey. I've enjoyed listening to you talk about where you've been, where you're going. And honestly, I feel like this is going to be one of those cliffhanger podcast episodes where people are going to be like, well, wait a minute, what happened to him?
What happens next?
What happens next? So I can't wait. And thank you so much for we're honored that you shared your story with us, because this was just been, I could have been here another 2 hours, honestly, just going, tell us more. What is this?
Like, my face hurts from smiling. It's so wonderful.
Yeah. Right. Me too.
Massage it out.
Massage it out. Oh my goodness. All right, everyone. So Dae, thank you so much. On behalf of Eileen Grimes and myself, this concludes another episode of You Only Go Once. Take care. Talk to you next time. Bye.